Welcome back. This is John Locke, and today I'm answering the question that's always on everybody's mind. Everybody always asks this question: how long does SEO take to work? Before I give you my answer on this, let's assume that you're throwing some real resources at this problem and you're not simply hiring somebody to do a Fiverr gig, and you're not hiring somebody off Upwork, and you're actually hiring an agency or a consultant that knows what the heck they're doing, and you're paying substantial or reasonable money per month, and you're not simply trying to do SEO for like $200, okay? Let's make those presumptions right off the bat. Now, if you're throwing real resources at this, one of the factors that's going to play a factor is what kind of competition you have for the keywords that you're going for. If you are trying to rank against heavy hitters and you're starting from basically way down here and they're way up here, and you're trying to rank against enterprise level brands, then SEO is probably going to take 1 to 2 years. This has been my experience. When you are in a competitive field, to actually rank competitively up at the tippy top, it's going to take some effort, and that includes investing in content for your site, includes link building, it includes redesigning your site, making sure that everything, all the functionality that you require is built into your site. Usually requires some sort of website redesign or adjustment to the layouts of the pages. All those things usually have to happen for you to rank in a very competitive space against big brands. That's usually how it goes. So if you are just a small business, let's say you're just a local business, you should see some movement after a few months if you are throwing real resources at it and you are adding content, changing content, redesigning the site, building links, doing all kinds of other brand building activities. Then you should see some movement after a few months. Even if you are at a scale where you're competing against these heavy hitting giants, you should see some sort of movement after a few months. Now, how long does it take for you to get to page 1? Let's clarify this too. No SEO agency or a consultant can guarantee you number 1 rankings. That is something that cannot be guaranteed by anyone, because for the simple reason, they don't work at Google, we don't work at Google. Even the people who work at Google work on separate parts of the algorithm, and the way that the ranking algorithm works is no one person has the secret sauce or the secret ingredients. It's a bunch of smaller algorithms that are rolled into the final ranking algorithm. So no one person really has the answer. And in fact, Google, and to prove this point, Google very recently hired an in-house SEO for, I think it was the aspect of Google Flights, like how they're adding all this stuff for like booking flights in Google. They hired an in-house SEO to help them decipher what the algorithm itself is doing and help them to rank higher. So it's a lot going on there. So no one can guarantee you number 1 rankings, and no one can say by X and X date you should be ranking like 1, 2, or 3. So keep that in mind. Everybody is aiming at the same black box of activity and trying to decipher in real time what's going on. So in my experience, this is what I've seen for how long it takes to see movement. If you're throwing real resources at the problem, not just skimping out and trying to throw $150 at somebody on Craigslist or Fiverr and calling that SEO, then usually you will see some movement after a couple months. And the reason for this is, first off, if you've made changes to your site, you probably didn't make them all at once. You probably didn't add all the content, build all the links, and redesign the entire site all at once in the same week. Okay, but once you've made those changes, Googlebot still needs to recrawl your site take those pages and that information and say like, here's what's different. Take that back to the index of all the pages that Googlebot has crawled, and then how the ranking algorithm works is, let's say you're searching for a particular thing. We'll say it's something like linoleum flooring in Rochester, New York. And it's going to look at all the pages that mention that, or all the pages that might be a good solution for that search query, and then it's going to rank them based on all the different formulas and that are in the algorithm. We mentioned how I mentioned before that there's a bunch of smaller algorithms that roll into the larger one. That is exactly how it works. So it takes time for this information to process. So even if you make all the changes, it takes a little bit for Google to catch up, to recrawl your site, to reassess it against the other pages that can satisfy a search query, and then re-rank you. Then what happens after that is Google will measure how people are satisfied with the changes that you've made to your pages using user signals. And we did a video on this. I'm going to link it up above here. But Google does use user signals. They've said that they don't use analytics. Now, Google has said that they do not use Google Analytics for user data because, again, half the sites on the planet do not have Google Analytics installed, and they need to be able to measure all of them. Now, go watch that video, and I'll give you my theory. A couple other people also have this theory about how Google actually measures user signals. The other thing that's important too is backlinks. These are hyperlinks from other websites that flow what some people call link juice, but it's in the past it's been known as PageRank. Nowadays people seem to call it like link equity, but basically it's a voting power. But these other sites, these external sites, are flowing, basically we'll just call it link equity, into your website. Now, when there are other websites that are closely related to yours, they're in the same category, they're in the same industry, they talk about the same topics that your website covers, those are weighted a little bit more heavily. If the links are in the main part of the content, like the main article or the main part of the page, as opposed to a sidebar or a footer, they are weighted more heavily. So these things all play into SEO as well. Now, people will ask about the map. This is another thing. How long does it take to see movement in the map? This is a thing that I get a lot of questions about lately. Is people seem to be very obsessed about the 3-pack map. Okay, the 3-pack map, we've talked about it like several videos. I put like any number of videos up here, but the three biggest factors when it comes to the map is how close is the person searching to you. You're not going to show up in the 3-pack map 100% of the time. A lot of it is going to depend on who is searching and how far away they are from your physical location. So the closer the person searching is to you and the location of your business, the more likely you are to show up in the map. Okay? So second thing is, how relevant is your site to what they are searching? Does your site mention the thing that they are searching in your local region or city? Do people leave reviews that mention this thing? Is your business category on Google My Business and other websites out there, such as Yelp and Facebook and all the other ones that exist out there, is the business category the same as what they are searching? And is that business category the same as what it is on Google My Business? And the last thing is, what type of reviews do you have? Do you have 0 reviews? Do you have 100 reviews? Do you have 500 reviews? And are those reviews positive on Google? Now, not only that, but are you getting reviews from other places like Yelp? Are you getting reviews from Home Advisor if you're in construction? Are you getting reviews from Avo if you're a lawyer? Are you getting reviews on Trulia and Zillow if you're a real estate agent? Are you getting reviews on Zomato if you're a restaurant? These things all matter, and they all play into the map and your overall SEO. So all those things are a factor. To sum up, how long does SEO take to work? If you're throwing real resources at it and not pretend cheap resources, and you're not trying to cheap out, but you're making an honest effort and you're hiring either an agency or a consultant that knows what they're doing and they're charging a reasonable amount and you're throwing stuff at it, you should see some movement within a few months. And if you are a local business, I would probably say after about 6 months or so, maybe 9 months, you should be ranking competitively if these people are throwing resources at it like they say that they are. And if you are trying to rank against the big heavy hitters in an enterprise level field where there's a lot of competition, the keyword has a lot of competition, and there's a lot of established players in that space, then it will probably take 1 to 2 years for you to reach the first or second page for your most competitive terms. That's what I've seen, and that's usually how it plays out. My name is John Locke. My business is Lockdown Design and SEO. I'm here every single day answering questions on SEO. If you have a question, leave it in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer. That's all I have for now. I want to say thanks to all the people who have subscribed recently. We're reaching near 500 subscribers, and I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. I really do appreciate it. And that's all I have for now. I'll be back tomorrow with a new video. Until next time, peace.